Well, hello. This talk is on social media matters, so I'm talking about social media for the next 45 minutes to an hour. If you would like to get a copy of the slides, they're quite text-heavy because they're supposed to be a reference guide for you guys. So if you'd like to get a copy of the slides, one of my colleagues, Charlotte, standing up at the back, so give her one of your business cards on the way out and she'll send you a copy of the slides and you don't have to write all the way through, you can just listen to me. Okay, so what will you learn in this session? Understanding social media landscape, including the key channels, creating a social media strategy, how to attract the right audience for your particular events, the essentials that need to be in place before you start, and the key tools to know how to do your social media, how to measure your social media, and how to be successful in social media. So today is about housekeeping, is about getting the planning in place to make sure when you've got an event, you've got the right social media to support that event. So, Social Bee, if you don't know us already, we're digital marketing practitioners, trainers, social media trainers. I started in events. I had my first events company in 1998, which shows my age. I came out of events and went into digital in 2008. So I had quite a few years in the events management industry before going into digital, and I've been training in digital for the last few years. So if you've got any specific questions, please feel free to ask them or come and see me afterwards. I should be able to answer. So we're going to give you a quick background to social media before we get started into the strategy. So some stats to get you going. So there are 354 million internet users in the world. Absolutely tons, as you would expect. Active social media users, 482 million. A huge amount of social media users. So the question that people still ask me is, are there enough of my customers out there to make it worth doing social media for my business? And my response is, absolutely, of course there are enough people. It's whether they're responsive to your messages. That's the real question. So you've got to find the right people and match them with the right channels and the right messages. That's the real question. Absolutely, the numbers are there. Unique mobile users, 222 million. And why that's important is because when you're putting content together for social or for online at all, you need to think not in terms of a screen this big, but a screen this big, and how are people consuming the content that you're writing. And active social media users, 581 million. Frequency of internet use, most people are using the internet every day, obviously. There are 3% that are using at least one per month. And why I'm focusing on that one is because you need to think about those few people that are not digitally enabled and make sure that if you have a multi-channel experience, you make sure that you're picking up the people that are still a bit unused to using online as a way of receiving their marketing messages from you. So what is social media? Social media is a set of web-based communication tools that enable sharing between people. And most people forget that social media has the word social in it. It doesn't matter what you do, as long as you think like a human and as if you're talking to a human. Now, we're events practitioners, so humans are sort of what we're best at dealing with, really. So you have to remember to be social. It's a conversation that you're having. You're getting away from advertising, where you're a brand talking to people, onto word-of-mouth style conversation. So how does social media and that idea of conversations translate into your event business? Well, you can research, you can listen to the conversations people are having online on various different channels and understand their wants and needs. What are they talking about? What was the feedback they had after going to a particular event? What did they like? What didn't they like? What did they like when going to restaurants? And how can you use that information and implement it in your events in the future? So before you even talk on social media, think about how you can understand your audience a little bit better and how you can then tailor your messages when you go down to the marketing section. So you can then start talking in the conversations people are having, and it's not talking to people, it's talking in the conversations people are having. So starting to use the conversations that they have, the hashtags that they're using, the type of conversation, communication that they're using, and adopting that. Sales. Energize customers to sell you. Does it mean more that Square Meal say, this is a fantastic event, or does it mean more if one of you guys is on social media saying, this is a fantastic event? Of course, you as humans have more value on social media than the overarching organization. So think how you can apply that to your own events. How can you use customers, employees, humans behind a brand to supercharge your brand and to get that message across in a believable and valuable way? Customer support in terms of emails, various different messages, using WhatsApp, various different channels you can use for customer service. This is how you're going to get to your event. We hope you enjoyed the event. Give us any feedback. Think about the whole customer journey and how you can use customer support within the social media channels. And finally, development. You can embrace customers to work with each other to develop products, services, ideas. If you've got some super users, if you've got some people that come to your events every year, if you've got clients that you work particularly closely with, think about how you can partner with them, get an idea for a brand new event, and then you've got some partners to work with online as well. In social, you can be doing reciprocal promotions as a result of that. So think about reciprocal promotions on the real world, if you like, and the online world and how they can work together. So just some ideas about how you can relate social media in various different ways to your events business, not just marketing. Use it more wisely. So where do you start? And it sounds boring, but you have to start with a plan. You've got to think about where you are right now. If you want to use social media to supercharge your business and to make your business work harder and ultimately be more profitable, you need to know where you are now. So think about what your revenue is, what your traffic is like online, what your traffic and followers are like on social media, and then work out where you want to get to in 3 months' time, a year's time, 5 years' time. Use your analytics. There are analytics on Google, on your social media channels, and then just work out where you are. And if you know you've got traffic of, say, 3,000 people on your website per week right now, say, okay, in 6 months' time, I want that to be 5,000. I need it to be 10 by the end of the year. You can start putting some objectives together that are realistic based on where you are now. And find out why social media or online may not be working for you right now, why you might not be getting the results that you were expecting. So if your marketing investment doesn't generate revenue or event bookings, inquiries, or any tangible benefit, you've got to work out why you're doing it and what is going wrong. So have a look at what you're doing already and think like a customer and say, would I respond positively to this? Where's the call to action? Would I do what you're asking other people to do? And if you wouldn't, you need to go back and adjust your messages slightly. So once you've thought about where you are now, you've got to think about where you're going to get to. And there are 5 steps to a strategy. You've got to look at your business goals. If your business says to you, we have got a strategy, we've got a business goal that we want to increase our business by 10% in a year, for example. You can say, right, in that case, we are going to try and attribute social media to a percentage of that. And if you align your social media goals to your overall marketing and overall business goals, then you begin to get integration. When there's integration, then it starts to work far more effectively for your business. You need to know your audience. Don't talk like an event manager. Talk like your audience talks. And in B2B, that's even more important. So understand your audience, understand what they need from a company like yours, and then you can start developing messages that appeal to them. So you start participating in conversations online, start giving your campaign messages out in a way that's good for your audience. And then measure. Measurement is the most boring, and when we finish an event, we want to get on to the next one as soon as possible. I'm guilty of that too, but you need to spend some time sitting down, having a look at your stats and going, did my traffic go up? Did I get more followers? Did I achieve my goals? Did I not achieve my goals? What do I need to do for next time? And it's not just measuring, it's not just looking at the stats and going, oh, that's nice, I've got a graph that goes up, or I've got a nice pie chart here, or whatever it is. You need some actionable insights. You need to say to yourself, this is what happened, therefore I'm going to change what I do next month, next event, next time. And then repeat what worked, improve what didn't. Social media works very, very quickly. So if there's something that doesn't work, you could change your message a little bit. You could tweak the time of day it goes out, things like that. But generally, if you put the same kind of message out a couple of times and it's not working, you have to dump it. None of us have enough time to keep flogging a dead dog or donkey or whatever the right expression is. So repeat what works, dump what doesn't. We haven't got enough time for that stuff. So I'm going to go a little bit more detail about business goal. Example. If you've got a business goal that you want to get £100,000 revenue in 1 month, then you need to develop social objectives that will help you achieve that, and they need to be SMART. This is like going back to school, getting SMART objectives. Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. There's no point saying that we want to increase our revenue via social media. That's ridiculous, because you can't measure it. You can't report to your bosses and say, yes, we've done this, we've increased your business a bit. You need to say, we have increased event bookings, we've increased revenue, we've increased traffic to the website by 10% within 3 months, or by £5,000. We've increased event bookings by however many people within the last week. And when you start thinking like that, you come away from just chatting on social media to actually doing something much more valuable for your business. And all of us have to be multitaskers when we're in the events industry. And you need that focus to make sure that you're not doing stuff that's going to take you away from important work that you've got to do. So there are 5 points here. And if you can't answer any of these 5 points, I don't know can everyone see the screens properly from where you are? I'll read them out though. If you can't answer any of these, you need to go back to your objectives to a point where you can answer them. So your overall objectives will inform what you do in digital marketing in terms of who you want to connect with, who is your audience, what content you will share, what do they need to hear in order for them to do whatever you want them to do, buy a ticket, turn up, whatever it is. How will you interact with people? When you're an in-house event manager, you know your brand, you know how you need to react. But if you're an event manager in an agency, for instance, you're working with multiple brands, multiple tones of voice, you've got to think about the different ways that are appropriate for you to communicate on social media for various different brands. How often you need to interact with people. In order to get them to do what you want them to do, how many times do they need to hear your message? Is it once a day on Twitter? Is it 3 times a day on Instagram? What is right for your particular audience? And then, how do you want to influence people to act? The most frustrating thing I ever see is a really good post with a great image, and it says something like, oh, we've got this event coming up on a certain date at a certain location. That's a great image. And it looks beautiful. It's a wonderful social media post. And then I think, what do you want people to do? Is there a click here now for, or find out more, or how are you going to get people to actually do what you want them to do? And people are like sheep, or they're very simple on social media. If you don't ask them to do something, they won't do it. They're not going to instinctively just go and have a look on your website unless you've given them an incentive to do that. So make sure you've got that call to action on as many of your social media posts as possible. And then plan your social media marketing at the strategy stage. So I'm aware that this is quite small, but you've got awareness, consideration, evaluation, purchase, and then a repeat sale. That's sort of your funnel, if you like, your sales funnel. In old-fashioned marketing terms, your sales funnel. So you've got general awareness. People become aware of your event, your brand, etc. They're considering your brand or event offering. They evaluate, purchase, and then hopefully come back for more if they've enjoyed the experience. And you need to make sure that you're planning your social media and your other channels at this point. A lot of events professionals go straight in at the purchase bit. And you haven't warmed up your audience. They don't know why they like your brand. They don't know why they want to go to your event yet, and you're telling them to purchase or you're telling them to attend. So make sure you're thinking about where your audience are in terms of understanding why they should go to your event and what benefit it is for them. So don't go for just this little bit here. So if you consider you've got this attract, convert, engage, or attract, engage, convert process, you need to think about how much time you're putting into this process and what you're going to get out of it. So what's your profit margin? What's your cost per inquiry? What's your cost per event booking? And what's your conversion rate? If the cost per booking is £2, for instance, you want to make sure that you're definitely not spending more than £2 on a post or on each person coming through. So you need to decide whether you're spending money on advertising, or if you're not, how many posts you're putting out, whether you use a third-party agency, you do it in-house, all of those kind of things you need to think about. And it's very easy for social media to be this, oh, just put it on social media. And if you get into the mentality of just put it on social media, and you don't think in a business way about it, then it becomes a time sucker, you don't see any value from it, and it's not something that you particularly want to carry on doing, or your bosses particularly don't want you carrying on doing. So once you've gone through that process of thinking about your business objectives and thinking how you're going to put yourself forward on social media, you've done that planning bit, you need to think about your audience. So wear their shoes, think like an audience member. So what does your audience, what do your attendees want out of that event? What messages do you need to give them to make them want to attend? So your customers want this, I love this expression, omni-channel experience. It used to be multi-channel, it's now omni-channel. So what do they need from you? You've got various different options. You've got websites, mobile apps. You've got, in some cases, you've got a physical presence, if you're a venue, for instance. So know your customers and what they need. How many different touch points have they got with your brand? And have a think about making sure that your brand is consistent across all of those channels. It's very irritating, I think, if you see a really jazzy social media channel and people look really interesting and, wow, there's this law firm and I had no idea that they had such an innovative approach to life. And then you click on the link to the website and you go, oh, no, that's not the brand at all. They have no idea who their brand is, or they're just trying to be fun because it's social media and it doesn't actually reflect who they are at all. And if I was a customer, a B2B customer, if you like, I would... It just doesn't work. It clashes. I wouldn't believe who they are. So have a look across all the different channels and make sure that whichever channels you choose, including social media, that there's a consistency across them all and you understand where people are. It might be on social media, you're just trying to get the people at that attract stage. And you know that the conversion or the evaluation will happen on your website. That's fine. Make sure you've got the messages adjusted to fit that circle, that journey. So it might be that on social media, you've got all the teasers for the attract bit and engage. You've got the teaser things, but then you've got some really good offers when it comes to the purchase. So just think about where people are on the different channels that you manage and the kind of messages that suit those channels. So think about your audience. Are they business professionals? Are they the very young? Are they the retirees? Are they male? Are they female? Location, etc. Don't just do what you like doing on social media. Do what they like doing on social media. So listen to them. Use the language that they use. And once you get used to it, it's pretty easy. You become multi-personalities, which is interesting if you get into it too much. Start talking to yourself, different voices. So do a bit of research. If you're not quite sure who your audience is, especially if you're an agency or you're working with a new audience type that you've not worked with before, social media gives you some great tools in order to be able to understand your audience. So you can use Facebook Ads Manager. You can use a great tool called FollowerWonk. It's WONK.com, FollowerWonk. Twitter search, Instagram search. Start putting some keywords into those kind of search tools to see what comes up. I mean, this search, for example, I went for something completely random, and the pronunciation is going to be wrong, but it's ophthalmologist. I've never heard of this before. They're an eye specialist, if you're an ophthalmologist. And there are 2,200 results of people on Twitter that have the term ophthalmologist in their profile. Now, if I'm a B2B event manager and I'm working with that in a conference in that area, I've potentially got 2,200 potential attendees. So that's where the research part of social media is really important. And you can target those people either through advertising or just by looking at the kind of tweets that they're putting out, type of posts they're putting out, and start using the same language. Look at the hashtags, look at the kind of events they're already going to, and the kind of topics and the things that they find interesting or issues. So once you've done that planning and you've looked at your audience and you've done that preparation up front, when it gets to the participation, things become a lot easier. Instead of going in on a Monday morning thinking, oh, what am I going to put on social media? You can go in on a Monday morning thinking, I know what I'm putting on social media. It's this topic to this audience, and this is the aim, based on whatever our business objectives are. So you've done that planning up front, which means the implementation is quicker. And when you're participating, I'm going to go through a couple of the different platforms just to give you some ideas. On Twitter, we had Brighton SEO last week. I don't know if anyone was involved in that event. This is an example of their Twitter account. Twitter's great for creating, sharing links to your website. The shelf life of a tweet is about 5 minutes. So when you're thinking about tweeting, you need to think about episodical content and creating a story. You need a beginning, a middle, and end. You don't just want one tweet, we're at this conference, or we have this conference. You need we're setting up for this conference, we're excited about this conference, we're at the conference, we're doing this at the conference, we had a great time at the conference, etc. So it's not one tweet, you're thinking about 5 or 6 that you can fit in over whatever the time span is to make sure that you're picking up some of your audience because the information moves so quickly. It's great for keeping up to speed with your industry. You can network and build relationships, and you can find and answer questions. Here are some housekeeping tips. Just a quick show of hands. Who uses Twitter for work? So it's about half. Okay. So you need to make sure that your housekeeping is in order. You need to make sure you've got a very transparent account name and username. People need to be able to find you really easily. You need to have a profile photo that is very easy to recognize. If you're a business, it needs to be your logo. If you're an individual, it's your face. Don't try and do anything funny like you're moving or you've got a pint glass or something like that. People need to know who you are, so make it very clear. Have a good bio that people can understand. They need to know what to expect. Why should they follow you? So have some keywords in there. Events, conferences, all of those kind of keywords that we use in marketing, make sure they're plugged into your bio. You need to have a link to your website and have a good header image. This header image needs to be changed, if you can, once a month or whenever you've got a new event. Use it. It's prime retail space. So use it. Put hashtags on there. Put your URL on there. Overlay text onto that image and use it as advertising space. We've got some examples here. Jamie's Italian. Fantastic rustic dishes using recipes that have been tried, tested, and loved. Contact us at twitter@jamiesitalian.com. It's not revolutionary, but it does exactly what it says on the tin. So recipes, that's a good keyword. He doesn't have many others. Cooking, restaurant, there are a few others that he could have used. But things that have been tried, tested, and loved. There's a bit of personality in there. Think how you can add a human touch. And then, what's the call to action? How do you want to influence people to act? Well, he wants people to either contact them via the links on the posts, or there's an easy contact point. Museum of London, we tell the story, not the story is told, but we tell the story, the human conversation. We tell the story of the world's greatest city and its people across 2 venues, Museum of London and Museum of London Docklands, tweets by the comms team. Again, there are locations that are covered, what to expect if you follow that account, a little bit of personality, and then where to find you with the link, Museum of London. It's not rocket science, but it's getting that housekeeping in order. There's a slight delay on the timer, so there we go. So here's an example of making the most of that cover image here. So, complimentary private screening. When you book your conference in September, October, or November 2017, book today. Simple. To think about, whenever you've got an image, can you overlay some text over the top to make it work just that little bit harder? Another example. Very simple, just a hashtag over the top. You're smiling. Is this you? No? They liked one of my tweets earlier. They're the only people that have so far. So, Instagram. Who's on Instagram for business? Slightly less than Twitter, but that's interesting. So Instagram can bring your event to life. Obviously, layout, it's picture-orientated. Gone are the days where you can have something that's not very slick. You have to make sure that if you mix up the odd picture that's done off the hoof, if you like, that's mixed in with some professional stuff as well. Your audience are on Instagram as well, obviously. They know how to do filters. They know how to make colors look better. If your audience can do that kind of stuff, then you need to make sure that you're doing that too. So it's good to have some photos on the fly, but mix it up with things that are professional, that show your brand, that show the quality of your brand. Keys to success, really good keywords. Make sure in the comments that you're using keywords and hashtags, and you're tagging other people to increase your reach. Here's another example from Old Billingsgate. Here's the deck chair. It's hammocks this year, but deck chairs last year. We're loving this photo from Tag of her pooch on the new giant deck chair. This is really giving us that Friday feeling. Events, event venue, London, venue, River Thames, etc., etc. So just getting into the pattern of talking like an Instagrammer and sharing and being part of the conversation. You can share from Instagram to Facebook and Tumblr, but not Twitter. So if you're sharing between social media, if you post something on Instagram, share it to Twitter, it just shows the hyperlink, doesn't show the image, and it looks rubbish, so don't do that. Upload the image separately onto Twitter. If you are engaging on Instagram, you need to respond to legitimate comments on your own posts, and I would say that you need to make sure you're always participating. If someone has commented, even if it's not a question, come back and say, thanks for the comment. Show that you're there, show that you're active, because if you've gone back to someone's comment and showed that you're there and present, they're more likely to do it again. Even if they're not valuable, other people that are valuable might be seeing that post. Like comments where possible. Post on popular artists, influencer posts. Think about who's influential. If you're doing B2B, there are going to be some topic experts. Can you get them in? If it's fashion, lifestyle, then world's your oyster, because there are so many of them on Instagram. And amplify your reach. Always think about how you can make your reach greater by using the people that are already out there on Instagram with very large followings. Facebook. I assume majority of you are on Facebook personally. Who uses Facebook for business? Just a tiny bit more than Twitter. Can I have a quick show of hands? Who's B2B events organizer? Who's B2C? B2B, hands up. B2C? Okay, and some, but neither. Okay. So Facebook is great for B2C companies and only some B2B. The key is interaction. The key is to get your fans' interaction, your customers, your consumers to be advocates of your brand on social media. And it's very hard to get traction. So you need to be a really interesting, generally B2C brand to make Facebook work for you. So always think about your target audience. I love Facebook. It's the biggest platform, 1.8 billion users on Facebook now. But it is hard to get the interaction if you're not an innovative brand. Sorry, am I moving around too much? So keys to success. Ask questions to engage people. Tag locations and brands into your post and use images and video content. You should not put any posts on Facebook or Twitter that don't have an image or a video. Don't do it. So here's an example from Eventim. She's back after a sold-out UK tour in 2007, RuPaul's Drag Race, alumni, an international hateful clown in a gown, da-da-da-da. You can see a couple of tags there, and register for our ticket alarm, and the link. That's all there. There's the call to action at the end, as well as the tagging. So again, it's not difficult to do. It's just getting into the habit of thinking, here's my post. How can I amplify that message? LinkedIn, B2B only. Generally, B2B only. You can see by the style here, International Orthodontic Congress. So if you have an event LinkedIn groups is a really interesting way of keeping the momentum going between sessions. So if you've got an annual conference or even monthly, you can have an event, you can have a group, and then people are discussing, attendees, and people like that can all chat about what's going on, what's up and coming. They can keep the momentum going. It was great to meet you at the event. Look forward to seeing you next time. All of those kind of conversations can happen on a LinkedIn group. And you're there looking at all the conversations, moderating, encouraging the conversations, and gleaning all of this information. These are my event attendees, and they are feeling this at the moment. They're noticing this. Therefore, next time I put the Congress together, we are going to be talking about this, and this topic. And I know it's important to them because I've heard them talk about it. And this is how we get into the part of being in people's conversations, finding the communities or creating communities on social media and putting your messages in and getting information out. So the most important thing with LinkedIn, though, is you can't be just fun. You can't just be a little bit interesting. You've got to really add value. Think about what the value exchange is, because people are in a business mode. If you can't add value to the experience and you're just funny, then you're going to get no traction at all. And in fact, some people will comment saying, this isn't Facebook, what are you doing? So always think B2B with LinkedIn. A couple more channels. YouTube. Now with YouTube, you don't need to think about how slick your content is, but you have to think episodically. Think about how you can link content, again, before an event, during an event, and after the event through to the next event via having a channel on YouTube. So whatever your topic is, there's usually some content you can find that's video-related, video-worthy, and YouTube can help you with getting your audience and the momentum going. And YouTube is great for getting Google hits. So think about how you can add the keywords in that are relevant for your brand onto YouTube videos, and then you'll come up on the hit list on Google. Ultimately, you want to be page 1. That's the ultimate dream. And then blogging. If you add a blog onto your website, or if you're a topic expert that talks in other people's blogs, again, it's another way of getting your noise out there, your messages out there. So think about if there's blog content that you can put together, or topic experts within your business can put together to, again, amplify that message. You can then share it on social media. Here's an example. Top 5 vegan and vegetarian food spots in Shoreditch. Now, it's not massively interesting. However, it's very useful if the people that are your target audience are coming to an event in Shoreditch, they're staying for a couple of nights, they may be from abroad, and they don't know where they're going to eat. You know, think about how you can help the whole experience of your event by adding blog content in, video, all of that kind of stuff. It's great for search engine results. And also, if you have a blog on your own web pages, on your website, then it shows that you've got up-and-coming new information on your website. Google loves that. And again, you'll be pushed up the priority list on Google searches. Paid advertising. Who does paid advertising at the moment? Quick show of hands. A few. So, social media advertising, here's an example here. 10th to the 11th of October, Brussels joined Google, IKEA, Unilever, Tesco's, and many more at Resource 2017. This kind of Google ad, or, this is LinkedIn, but this kind of style of having one title and a couple of lines is really hard to put something interesting together for. So you need to be very clear about what your keywords are. So clearly, Google, IKEA, Unilever, Tesco's, those are big brands to pull in the interest, and then the name. And then people click through to more information. So you've got to think in terms of, if you think a tweet's too short, wait till you start doing this kind of advertising. So think job titles, demographics. Think about your audience and what they'd be interested in. And the key is messaging. Try and get that call to action, and think about having maybe multiple ads on multiple channels working in parallel, if you can at the same time, and then you can see which is working. Unlike traditional advertising on print, where it just goes off and there's nothing you can do, on social media, your advertising you can publish it, you can tweak it 5 minutes later, a day later. You can see whether it's working, whether you want to pull it, encourage it, and do other things. So maybe have one ad which is targeted at your audience demographic 1, audience demographic 2, audience demographic 3, have a few going at the same time and see which audiences are responding best to your adverts. Who does remarketing? Anyone? Yeah, a few people. So retargeting, remarketing, we're used to seeing these ads now on websites. Whilst this isn't social media, you need to think about your website. You can think about social media and how it all links together in one consistent brand. And remarketing advertising can be really good for helping to build your brand if you're not getting some sales. In my opinion, unless you've got a massive event which you need to really sell a lot of tickets for, the best idea is to start organically with your posts, then do some Facebook and Google ads, and then if you're not getting the traction that way, go into remarketing. So the key is messaging all the way through. You need to think engagement and a call to action. What is your call to action? How are you going to, because ultimately an ad's nice, it's good that people have seen an ad, but what are you going to do to make them click on that link? So when you're participating on any of those channels, there are some commonalities when it comes to creating great content. So think about why your target audience would want to listen to you, but also what their competitors are saying to you, saying to them. How can you develop messages that are valuable to you, different from your competitors, and preferably better than your competitors? Have a look at what your competitors are doing. Think objectively. You can even do an exercise one lunchtime and go, right, how can I make that competitor's message better? And then start getting into a process of one-upping, if you like, your competitors. So think about creative ways to convey your messages. Think about your brand vision. If you've got a really good premium brand, then what do you need to do in order to show that brand on social media? Again, repeat what works, review what doesn't, dump it if it's not working. With hashtags, you need to make sure that you don't go too complicated. Excuse me. Hashtag essentials with events is to keep it really simple, because you've got people that are going to be using that hashtag for a day or potentially a week, and then they forget about it for maybe another year. So here are some examples. Brighton SEO, easy, it's the name of the event. Cereals event, this is quite random, but it's a farming event that happens annually, 25,000 farmers that aren't maybe used to using social media. It needs to be really, really simple, because they're like, I've got big fingers, I don't know. So you need to think about simple, short, easy to remember hashtags and check nobody else is using it. With examples like this, I can't imagine that there are going to be very many other organizations or other countries using things like cereals event, but you never know. So you need to make sure that whatever the hashtag you're using isn't being used by another brand for something completely inappropriate or completely irrelevant. So do a little bit of research and tell people at every opportunity. You want to, when people turn up to the event, you want them, ideal situation, for them to have already tweeted about you or messaged, done a message on their social media channel saying, I am coming to hashtag this event, I'm on the train, I'm doing this, whatever, I'm doing my prep, whatever it is. You don't want them coming in and then halfway through the event going, what's the hashtag for this event? You know, that's not helpful for you. It's not helpful for them. It's irritating for them. So tell people at every opportunity, integrate your social media with everything else that you do, your event invites, emails out with location and maps and that kind of stuff. Keep adding. If you've got a hashtag, keep adding it into everything else that you're doing. And show them that even if people can't attend the event, they're going to get an update throughout the day via a certain hashtag. So, this is a bit of a funny slide, however, bear with me. You need to think about at least one of the things from these different sections. So think about whether you can hook any of your messages onto key dates in your calendar, national holidays, a sales opportunity, self-promotion, or just engaging with your audience. What your tweet should do you should at least think about one of those things. You need to think of your tone of voice, your personality. You need to think about day of the week, hour of the day, and social channel, because you might have a really good message, but you might put it out at 9 o'clock in the morning, and people aren't checking their social media until lunchtime. So you might have a really good message, but you've just hit the wrong time of the day. And you might have hit the wrong social channel. You might go, of course, everyone's on Twitter, when actually your audience might be on LinkedIn or Instagram. Think about your types of content, the imagery, videos. Can you add in some competitions, some polls, some other bits and pieces to just make it interesting? And it's boring, it's a spreadsheet, but you have to use it. You need a content calendar. You can either color code it by platform. A few people are smiling, yeah, we've got one. Nobody likes doing a content calendar, but it is so important. So you can either have a line for Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, your blog, your website updates, whatever it is. You can color code it by audience type, who you're targeting, or you can color code it by the type of content it is or the platform. However way you do it, make it work for you, but plot it out. Because then you can say, oh, it's half term and so-and-so's on holiday, so we need to find someone else to give me some content. Or, oh, I've just realized I haven't targeted this particular demographic for a while. I need to make sure I add in some posts. And again, you're thinking in a more strategic, more intelligent way about putting your content across. If you integrate social media into your other channels, then this starts being populated by all of your channels. And hopefully, the wonderful omni-channel experience that you're giving your customers will be reflected in the back office here. I mentioned that earlier. So think about sharing the same content across different channels. You can absolutely do that, but different channels work in different ways. So if you've got a video, for instance, which is an interesting bit of video for a potential event attendee, you could put something on Twitter saying, check out this video about hashtag, et cetera, You can put on Facebook, here's a really cool video about how this works, and you've got slightly more words to use, slightly more interesting, slightly more jazzy, if you like. I hate that term because it's not, jazzy's not cool, but you know what I mean. On LinkedIn, you want to say, here is a valuable video which will show you this, and you're putting the same content across, but you're saying it in a slightly more professional tone. Here, this video contains 5 top tips on how to do this, which will add value to you in this way. So it might be the same piece of content, but think about different ways of talking about it across the different channels. Your social media profiles need to act as the hub of information. Who managed to get a biscuit from the biscuiteers? Biscuiteers, even. Yeah, they're good, aren't they? Oh. So you need to think about your content either being informative, educational, inspiring, or entertaining. That's your tick list. If you're not doing at least one of those, you need to ditch it, rewrite it until it is. So it's got to add value. It either adds value as in, I as a customer or a potential attendee have found this interesting, I've either found this entertaining or useful. And remember, above all, to be social. Once you've gone through the process of planning, thinking about your objectives and all of the rest of it and the content that you're really desperate to put out on social media, remember that people have got to communicate with you. There's an art of conversation that happens. And make sure you're asking them questions. Thanks for this feedback. Did you find this? Did you enjoy this? And point them to potential next steps. If you enjoyed this event, see our website for when our next event's on, or follow this Twitter. If you like this topic, then follow this account, because then you'll see more information of that type. Keep that conversation going. And then, in order to grow your followers, you need to post regularly. You need to ensure your website is correctly pointing to users to all your social channels, so they can pick which one they want to choose. You need to include links to social media on all of your external communications. So if you've got a stand down there, you need your social media on the stand or above, or wherever it is. Start integrating social media into your physical and online business world. Be the industry leader. Give content out that's valuable, that puts yourself where you want your brand to be. Engage with influencers and fans and amplify your reach. Use key hashtags with every post. Create that strategy and deliver it. Review why it's not working, etc. And utilize key personnel within your industry to share your content. Make sure people are sharing it and make sure it's definitely easy to share. Best times to post, I mentioned Follow a Wonk. Follow a Wonk will tell you which time of day your users are active on Twitter. But also you can look at your website. Potentially, when most of your, look at the busy times of your website during the day and the week and post on social media at those times, because that's when your people are going to be most active. Have at least one person dedicated to social media on the day. Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever it is, make sure you've got some fun stuff. You're not only producing an informal, relaxed experience, but people want to enjoy your brand. You want the choice of people coming to your event and coming back to your event to be an emotional decision as well as a logical decision. And posting key content into a LinkedIn group or looking for people and asking them to hashtag, asking them to be part of a conversation will all help towards that. And then the boring bit right at the end, I'm afraid, is that measurement. And you can use measurement in various different ways. Here are the free ones. You've got Google Analytics. If you don't have access to Google Analytics, find out who's got access within your business or agency and get the insights. How many people are on your website? How many website clicks are you getting from social media? Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn will all give you the measurements that you need in order to know whether your objectives have been hit. You've got smart objectives. You will have a measurement in the analytics listed there to tell you whether you've succeeded or not. There are plenty of ones that you can pay for, which I'm happy to go into detail with, but those are the free ones, and I love free stuff. So this is what Google Analytics looks like. It's very dry, but again, it tells you what your traffic is like and how many people, I don't know if you can see it down here, but how many people have come from social. Who's on Hootsuite? Is anyone using Hootsuite yet? If you're managing multiple channels or you're posting a lot on social media, I recommend having a look at Hootsuite. It's a way of being able to post to multiple channels and look at the analytics on multiple channels as well. It's great for listening. So there's a free trial for a month, so give it a go. Make sure you finish your trial, and otherwise they'll start charging you. So make sure you, after 28 days, you've stopped it if you don't like it. But you've got all the monitoring analytics tools that you need, and if you start putting really good reports together and maybe putting them into your monthly meetings, posting them up to the director level, whatever it is, people will start believing in social media as a valid tool if they don't already, and then you'll be given more resource, which is a bonus. So, a couple of social media wins just at the end of the session. Always wear your customer's shoes. Don't think like an event organizer. Think like your customer. What messages do they want to hear? Find out what channels your audiences are on. Get some smart targets. Know really what you need to do in order to get the business through your door. And invest in your online presence to drive people to you.